Here we go. Good morning, Hockey Nation Live. Live. Night. This is your Detroit Red Wings update. After a really busy weekend, we find ourselves entering week undefeated. What the heck is going on? How are the Red Wings undefeated? So after a big win last night, we saw them go 3-0-2 on the season. So so far, nobody's been beat in regulation. It's interesting. Good morning to Hunter. I like Buffalo than anybody. Buffalo's actually headed right in the standings. So thank you for joining us this morning. It might be a little weird. I think I actually put something wrong in the notification, so you might be seeing it after the fact. We're going to do our Detroit Red Wings update because, as I mentioned, they are undefeated after a weekend which we saw them play 2 games. We know that on Friday night they had the game versus Chicago, which we will check in on. But they played last night against at home against the Anaheim Ducks, who are going to be, they were ending a long road trip and they've not had much success on the season. I think they're 0-5 after that road trip. It might be 0-4-1. Good signs for Detroit, though, who have no problem so far in the season scoring goals. So we saw last night the continued dominance of Dominic Kubalik. Kubalik is just playing phenomenal. Can't wait to see Detroit versus Buffalo. That is going to be interesting. I agree, because Buffalo is also playing terrific brand of hockey right now, and they are just ahead of Detroit in the standings. If we take a look, like Buffalo is 4-1-0, and Detroit is 3-0-2. Did I use the word Toronto? I meant Detroit versus Buffalo, if I had said that wrong. And that's going to be definitely interesting because they're kind of strange. The Atlantic is stacked, guys. Like, if you're 500, you're not in the playoffs. Like right now in the Atlantic, like Montreal is 3-0, and they're last. And then Tampa Bay is 7th, and they're 3-0. So it's kind of crazy right now. I'm sure this will all change. You're not going to have teams play to 800, but last shape. I'd be shocked. Yeah, Hunter, the Atlantic is crazy. There's so many teams that are so good, and we see Detroit's right in the middle of the pack, and they're undefeated. So what does that say? So this signing of, David Perron, I said, might be the biggest signing in the offseason for this team. Like very, very underrated. Kind of proved to be very inexpensive, and that continues to be the case. He is so good. But Dominic Kubalik, we're going to look back on this. Detroit's going to have to lock this guy up long term. Right now, Dominic Kubalik is looking to score in Detroit, but not by a little bit. Like, this team's offense has been very, very potent so far. And he fits the mold of he's a big forward, but he's got a big shot. We know that Vrana is out indefinitely, entering the NHL assistance program. So you would think that would really hurt the team. But take a look at this. And Kubalik, 3-point night last night, 8 points on this season in 5 games. He's playing on the top line with Larkin. They put Sundqvist on that line as well quite a bit, even though that's part of the newly named Redwoods line. Rasmussen's playing great, but it's Suter looked good again last night. Elmer Soderblom gets his second of the night or the season, and the guy that's actually quiet is Lucas Raymond. And I kind of suspected this might be the case. He finished last year kind of quiet, and I feel like it's going to take him a little while to find his footing this season. Andrew Kopp not scored yet. Bertuzzi's out long term. Ernie's been reliable, but really the story so far has been the Dominic Kubalik and David Perron side. And even Oli Mato, 5 points in 5 games. So everything's clicking right now for Detroit. They're playing a very different style than we've seen traditionally. And if you look at the game last night, it was the same thing where they're just dominating down low. You see Larkin scored early on the power play from the slot. And, I've said repeatedly, I don't know if he's a number 1 center in this league. But man, he's playing really well. I mean, he's a very good captain. He doesn't take any shifts off. He's fast, but he seems to have found his pace where he's not carrying the puck so much because there's other guys that can do that. I think that's the key for him. If you look at how he scored last night again, it was, from the slot on, a kick out and just great puck movement on this Detroit power play. Suddenly, if you take a penalty against Detroit, it's potent. Like, they're going to execute, and they're going to get some points in the power play. So the first goal in the power play, the second goal in the power play, also from Perron. And you're right, Perron seems to love playing for Detroit. I think Perron loves. Am I back? I think I'm back. So David Perron, they end the first period up 2-1. Then the second, Joe Veleno moved up live a little bit, but he's basically playing fourth line minutes. And man, he got a nice goal last night, so that made the game 3-1. And there was really no looking back. They were just dominating Anaheim down low. They are so much bigger down low. They put great pressure on the puck. When they have the puck, they protect it extremely well. And then Kubalik gets their third power play goal of the game. I mean, his shot is excellent. So this is great news for Detroit and Detroit fans that he's playing so well. And then, Elmer Soderblom, again, gets his second goal of the season. He has 2 more goals right now than Lucas Raymond, who we know is going to be a great player, and he is a great player. But only 2 assists on the season in 5 games. I don't know if we anticipated this. I think we thought that Raymond was going to be the engine. And then Husso, what do I think of him so far? I mean, he's had a shutout and now a 1-goal game against. If you look at Husso's save percentage, I think it's .938. I mean, that is top 10% of the NHL. Like, easily. It's early, but I think that he's big in the net. I cannot believe that St. Louis gave this guy up. Like, and I think he signed a $3 million contract, like $3 million a year. And if you look, he's played 3 games, 2.0 goals against average, 2-0-1, so great start, 1 shutout. He's had to make 92 saves in 3 games, so it's not like he's getting no action. He's a .939 save percentage. So far, he's big, he's quiet in the net, he's got athleticism, and they're doing a great job of clearing pucks in front of the net. The defensemen are bigger, the forwards are putting pressure on the puck well before it gets into the Detroit zone, and they're not giving up a lot. Good morning to Dan Ashram. Thank you for joining. Curious, Dan, if you got the notification just recently or if you saw it ahead of time. I think I maybe did something wrong here. My Wi-Fi might be a little weak in the stream. I might have to switch room in the future. Good morning to Greg and John. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. And then Hunter, damn impressive start. I agree. And I think we saw this in the preseason. They're playing a style where it's more akin to the way the Tampa Bay Lightning have played. They're bigger. They're still quick. They got lots of offensive weapons. They got over 3 lines of guys that can score at the NHL level. Like, they might have 4 lines of guys that can score at the NHL level. And it's not an easy team to get on. We haven't seen a sniff from Raymond. We haven't seen a sniff from Zadina so far offensively. Vrana's out, Bertuzzi's out, and yet they're still scoring 5 goals a game. I mean, they had 5, well, not every game, but they scored 5 goals last night. They had 3 the other night, and lost 4-3 in overtime, which we'll touch on. But even that, they were ahead, and they clawed their way back. So this is all good news, just the way they're playing. I would agree with you, Hunter, that they are having an impressive start. But it seems like this is sustainable. Like, I'm sure they're going to go through rough patches, and they're going to play better teams. Like, I think right now they've had a little bit easier schedule. Although the Blackhawks have won like 3 in a row. So the Blackhawks, they're shocking too. But overall, great start. And they are. This is something I don't think you have said in the last 10 years. It's hard to play against Detroit's defense. They are big. They can all carry the puck, make smart decisions. They can skate. And when you go 1-on-1 against them, you're not getting a lot of opportunity. You might get shots, but the shots that the team wants you to take, there's not like a lot of errant acrobatics needed by the goalie. The goalie's bigger than we've seen. We've had a lot of smaller goalies. And to that end, like, you look on Friday night where they lost, and we skip ahead, that Friday night game, which we previewed, they lost 4-3 in overtime. They kind of fell asleep. Like, they got ahead and they got cocky and they fell asleep, but they managed to, hang on for a point in overtime, so they didn't get beaten in regulation. But they were ahead in this game. I think they were up 3-2 and they ended up losing 4-3. So that's not what you want if you're Detroit. Nedeljkovic played in net, and he's just that other brand of smaller acrobatic goalie. And I think long term you're going to see when Sebastian Cossa comes up, they'll probably have to retain Husso, and this is going to be a team where they have big goalies cover a lot of the net, and they're going to give you straight on shots and prevent you from going cross ice. This team, you can see how they're built. They're big, they're fast, they got lots of offensive weapons, they're tough defensively. Everybody's playing their role. They stay on the right side of the puck. And when they don't have the puck, there's lots of pressure. And when they do have the puck, it's in areas where it's hard to get the puck off of them. So that being said, the Redwoods line is exciting. The exciting of this line is Rasmussen got the assist on the Soderblom on a goal last night, I believe, with Soderblom. And Sundqvist played power play minutes without these guys. So he's moved up in the lineup shockingly, and we saw some surprising playmaking from him, but all from down low. So he's getting the puck down low, and he's finding his teammates. And I believe he set up the Perron goal, and I think he set up the goal for Larkin. Did he get 2 assists last night? You know what, Marco? I was just saying, we haven't heard a sniff from Zadina, and what we saw is actually with Vrana out, they moved up Sundqvist, which is interesting. And I think he played very well. And obviously, Kubalik is leading this team right now in scoring for a reason. He's got 8 points in 5 games. Zadina does not, he looks clueless. He had a great preseason, I thought, and they sat him out right away. So I don't know if that sucks the wind out of him or if he's not playing the style. And you see last night he was a -1. So it wasn't necessarily his fault. There was a defensive error, and then he had an opportunity to break the play up on the back check. It was a broken play that led to the Zegras goal. But being a -1, he played about 13, 14 minutes. I don't think he's going to be long for Detroit unless something turns around here. They might be patient with him because they signed him to a 3-year deal, and they're going to want him to have value before they move him. But so far, he looked like this is not his jam, this style. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. I would have hoped that he would have had success. I want him pulling for him. Lucas Raymond only has 2 assists on the season. So I kind of thought he had a good preseason and he had a good camp, but there's a lot of other guys that had good camps. And I think he's trying to find his way with this new system. I think by the end of the year he will, and he's going to eventually be like a top player in this team. But right now, they don't need him to, they're going to eventually need him, but they're not, winning because of Lucas Raymond. And I think he played a much bigger role under Jeff Blashill. And right now, that's not working. So far, the minutes are not going to Zadina, and they're not really going to Raymond. If you look at both of them, they're under 15 minutes a game right now. And actually, that's a bit of a trend because if you look at the minutes in last night's game, they're really spreading it around. So you look at Detroit's forwards, 16 minutes. Zadina did get extra time. That's strange. I was wrong. He got extra time. 16 minutes. He was a -1, 2 penalty minutes, and no points. Andrew Kopp gets 15 minutes. Lucas Raymond, 14 minutes. P.S. Suter, 13. P.S. Suter got an assist last night, and he was a +1. He looked good. Rasmussen, only 14 minutes, but he gets a key assist last night. David Perron, 15 minutes. What? Okay. Sundqvist, 15 minutes. He had like 2 or 3 power plays he was on. Okay. Larkin, 63% in a faceout circle, 2 points, goal and assist, 18 minutes and 54 seconds. Kubalik only had 15 minutes, guys. Now, there's a lot of power play time last night, and I think what's happening is because they're so big, they're quick, they're drawing a lot of penalties, and teams are getting frustrated against them. And that's what I'm seeing. Like, there's a lot of power plays in their favor last night. Any updates on the Larkin? I haven't heard anything about the Larkin contract talks. It's going to be interesting because his numbers are very good. I still look at him and I don't think that's a number 1 center in the NHL, but he's kind of changed his game up a little bit. And not to say he's defensively, I think he's found his way offensively in the sense that he doesn't have to carry the puck so much. And that's the key for him. He's fast, he wins faceoffs, he's leading the team by example, he's a little bit older, and I think the fact that he's got guys around him that can handle the puck has really helped him. That started last year with Lucas Raymond. Now you got Perron that can really handle the puck. Sundqvist is doing interesting things along the boards, but he doesn't have to carry the puck through 20 guys now. Not 20, but the other team. And you're right, Perron looks great. You like the slow jam? I did the lo-fi today to keep some pace. Perron looks so good. He's just got great decision making. They find seams. He seems to really be enjoying himself out there. He's obviously in great shape and high skill and hasn't lost a step. Got 4 goals in 5 games. I mean, you couldn't ask for any more than that. I mean, this is a great start overall for Detroit and particularly for him. Yeah, so we know that they lost 4-3 on Friday, but even in that game, they managed to pull out a point. They were ahead in this game, kind of fell asleep, and they kind of gave up too many opportunities. And Nedeljkovic, Nedeljkovic, as I thought before, he's probably going to be maybe a 32 to 34 games. I think eventually, so by the end of the year, we'll take the bulk of the games. We should see if they get Kosov at all. He played a little bit in the East AHL. They got a lot of depth in the AHL. Like Austin Zarnenko, I thought had a very good training camp. He's highly skilled. He's got some NHL experience, but he's just really small. Was player of the week in the AHL, and I think he's played great down there. Edmondson looked great. I mean, he's over a point a game down there. But right now, there's no urgency to get either of those guys up in the NHL. They have enough depth, even with the Vrana and Bertuzzi, issues that are keeping them out of the lineup for extended period. They seem to be okay right now. Jonathan Berggren did get hurt, by the way. He got a terrible hit. This is a guy with concussion issues. He just got absolutely destroyed into the boards in a very dirty way. He's out right now. I'm not sure if it's concussion related or shoulder. He did walk off the ice after that play, but that's really unfortunate because he had a very good camp. A smaller guy, and really, despite so many goals out, like you've got Fabry out, you've got Bertuzzi out, you've got Vrana out. They scored 5 goals last night. They scored 3 the other night. This is just a very different team. Very, very hard to play against. So this is all good news if you're a Detroit Red Wing fan. I'm sure that things will kind of, settle down a little bit. The guy that looks also great, by the way, is Vrana. Like Philip Vrana playing with Olli Mata. Olli Mata is playing a game right now. And I think that, if you look at Vrana, he looks so smooth. And he's got such a good shot, and he's taking offensive chances because he's got a really good partner back there to help him out. You expect the attendance to grow, then the team is rounding the corner. Is attendance down? Let's take a look. I'm kind of curious about that. Detroit Red Wing attendance. Let's see. Let's take a look. It's really... I think the best source of this is probably hockey. What you can find. By the way, if you go to Detroit, which I went last year, it's a little bit crazy. There's the downtown core, which is nice, but the rest of Detroit's still kind of a mess. So it's going to be interesting. How many people are actually in Detroit is a good question. Am I still getting the same number? Yeah, this thing is not what I was looking for. Statistic keeps coming up, and that's not what I want. Here we go. Detroit Red Wings yearly attendance. Let's see if they're showing us this year or not. Yeah, you're right. They're still down. So I guess last year the average was 16,985. We know that building can hold 20,000. They're up to 17,789. So, by most NHL standards, that's pretty good. But, pre-lockout, even with as bad as the team was, they were 18, 19, 19, and 20. So to your point, it is down over historical numbers. I just wonder how much of that is the demographics of Detroit. If you're there, it's kind of sparsely populated. It's kind of a mess. The downtown area near the Little Caesars is great, but I just wonder if that whole area in general has less people. And there are younger people, and the demographics of it might not be interested in hockey as much. And it's a big, big arena. That's one of the biggest arenas in the league. So not to make excuses, but I just wonder if maybe the norm is going to be 17, 18, but maybe you're right. Maybe they get off to a good start. Maybe they have a big season, and we see a lot of people coming back to watch Detroit Opia. Okay, I got to check that out. We're going to check that out. That looks good, Marco. Thanks. That is good advice. I feel terrible that I haven't seen that yet. mean, I've watched Russian 5, obviously. My cousin's in that, and that's an amazing documentary on the Russian 5, but Detroit Opia, filmed by Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady. Okay, I'm going to check this out, 2012. But I really wonder how much of it is the demographics of Detroit, you know, the population itself having changed in both maybe size and makeup is going to be interesting. You know, it's hockey town, but in the end, we hope we see 20,000 people again, but that's a big arena. All right, so what do we got coming up? And Marco, do you like the newly named Redwoods line? So this is Rasmussen, Sundqvist, and Soderblom, 6'8", 6'6", and 6'3". Soderblom looks really good. It's funny because they were saying in the game last night that he never played in front of the net before, and that's kind of what they're pegging him as, is that he's going to play in front of the net. He looks very effective there. He's got such nice hands. He's got that little between the legs, but he can skate as well. But I guess last year in the Swedish League, he played off the half wall on the power play, and now he's playing in front of the net on the power play, which is probably a better spot for him. But he seems pretty adaptable, really difficult to handle. This is a good news story. For this guy to be a 6th-round pick and be having this early success bodes very well for Detroit in the future. All right, so let's take a look at what we got coming up. Let's see if we can. What's Detroit's next game? That's the most important thing we want to figure out, and what we have coming up this week. All right, so we have the Devils tomorrow at 6 p.m. I assume that's Central, so it's 7 p.m. Eastern. And on Thursday, play the Bruins. So we know they already beat the Devils. Yeah, he's playing very well. And surprisingly, Raymond is very cold. But Kubalik, if you have Dominic Kubalik, this is a guy they got to sign along with Larkin. Like, he's playing great. And I think we're going to look back and not be surprised, because it's not like his numbers were terrible. For Chicago to walk away from a guy like this is just another strange move by them. And yet, funny enough, they've won their last 3 games, including against Detroit. So, I don't know. Luke Richardson's doing a very good job over there with a lot of pieces. So, tomorrow night against the New Jersey Devils, that'll be a rematch. They've already beat the Devils once this year. And then we're going to see, I think they beat them 5-2, right? But the big game is going to be against the Bruins. The Bruins are just dominating. They're top of the standings, 5-0-1, so they're undefeated on the year. They're 5-0-1? Yeah, I think they are. That's crazy. Wow. I mean, they get Bergeron. He's been playing great. I think he's got 3 goals. The Thursday game is going to be really interesting. We'll talk to you on Wednesday in our next Hockey Nation Detroit Red Wings update. Hey, RJ Calabro, how are you? Thank you for joining. A little quieter. I'll make sure that I create Wednesday's broadcast ahead of time, and then I'll probably just do a non-live update on Fridays. So yeah, Detroit's next game is against New Jersey. We'll get to see. New Jersey's been playing better of late, so I don't think that's going to be an easy game. You look at them in the standings. They're middle of the pack at 3-2-0. They've got 14 goals for and 14 against. Compare that to Detroit, who are 3-0-2, 20 goals for in 5 games. So averaging 4 goals against 4 and only 12 against. So if they can keep this up, obviously it's going to be a very successful year. They're ahead of both Toronto and Ottawa, who made, obviously Ottawa made big off-season moves, and Toronto made some changes. That Matt Murray situation is must bite them in the butt, although Samsonov's doing very well so far for them. And then we mentioned Buffalo. That'll be interesting. But Boston, 5-1-0. I apologize. 27 goals for, but 19 against in 6 games. They're 4-0 at home, 1-1 away. They've won 2 in a row. So they're going to be tough to play against on Thursday, but we'll look forward to tomorrow night's game. New Jersey having a good start overall, 3-2. And they've won 4. They've won 3 straight. They're right, and now they're going to host their Caps, I think, tonight, and then they'll play Detroit tomorrow night. So they might be hopefully a little bit tired. The Wings are going to need 95 or 92 points, somewhere around there. I think that's how you get in the playoffs. Is you can't not be. You have to be at least 10 games above 500, I think, to get in the playoffs. It just seems logical to me. And the Atlantic looks crazy. Like, the Atlantic just looks like it's going to be wild. I mean, right now, Tampa and Montreal are both out of the playoffs, and they're playing 500. That's number 7 and 8 teams. And then you got Ottawa, and you've got Toronto behind Detroit. And Detroit's middle of the pack, and they're 3-0-1. So the Atlantic is going to be crazy. And so that whole conference, I mean, you know, I thought at the beginning of the year they would be competitive for the wild card spot. So that seems to be the case. Like, I don't want to get too excited about this. I don't think they're going to play 800 all year. I don't even think they'll play 600, but they'll have to play 550 to 600 to get in the playoffs. That seems to be logical. All right, so New Jersey will play Washington tonight, and then they will play Detroit tomorrow. So maybe they'll be a little bit tired on Tuesday. That would be great news for Detroit as they continue actually to have a very favorable schedule against who they're playing. And, you know, overall, I think that doesn't hurt their current record. So the faster they start, better, because, you know, it's going to get tougher for sure, especially when they play. Sorry, my internet keeps cutting out. We will see you guys on Wednesday morning for a recap of Tuesday's game and a preview to Thursday's game. Have a great day, Hockey Nation Show or Hockey Nation Live. Thanks, Marco. Appreciate it. We will talk to you guys later.